Today on Cardiff Met Sport Radio, we round off the weekend's action from football with Matt James, conversing netball with Kira Davis, before bouncing over to basketball with Mike Morale, and how he's adjusting to life here at Met. Before checking into hockey and a possible World Cup bid for England and Wales, Movember Madness makes millions, and looking ahead to Bucks action this week. I'm your host, Will Godwin. I'm joined here with, like I said before, Kira Davis and Mike Morale. And here's Matt James with this weekend's football fixtures.
Thanks, Will. It was a weekend to forget for the men's team as they fell to a 3-0 defeat at the hands of Carnarvon Town, who arrived at Kincroyd without a kit and were forced to borrow one from Cymru South Club Taff's Well. Met started brightly and had chances to take the lead through Matt Chubb and Sam Jones, but it was the visitors who opened the scoring from the penalty spot just after the hour mark. Darren Thomas was fouled by Alaric Jones, and captain Dion Donoghue made no mistake from 12 yards. Liverpool only Fiddle O'Rourke added a further 2 goals after coming off the bench to seal all 3 points for the Canaries and move them up to 4th in the table, with Met remaining 6th. It was better news, however, for the women's team, who looked to avenge an opening day defeat against Swansea City Ladies in the Welsh Cup. With neither side able to break the deadlock in 90 minutes, it was Met women who converted all 5 spot kicks to progress. Captain Steph Turner scoring the decisive penalty to send the Archers through to the quarter-final. With Met facing league fixtures against both Swansea City and Cardiff City in November, the results should provide the Archers with a welcome confidence boost to take into those key games in the race for the title.
So it sounds like a successful weekend for Met there, Matt.
It was for the women, yeah. They lost on the opening day at the Swansea.com Stadium to Swansea City. They've done well to get back into it. As I say, they've got 3 key games coming up now. They've got Swansea City once and Cardiff City twice in the league. And that could go a long way to determine whether they can bring the title back to Kincroyd.
And the men as well. They're in the semi-final of the MG Cup against Ballard, I believe. And they're also playing them 7 days prior to that in the league as well. So they got the Cup first and the league 7 days later. What do you think about their chances for that?
If you look back historically, Met qualified for Europe at Ballard, so they'll be really confident going into it. They've always done relatively well there. The fact we're playing them 7 days before could be a bit of an issue. Depends on how Met's set up and whether they'll have one eye on that semi-final.
Okay, well, I mean, Met seem to be doing really well in their football. I'd now like to introduce our first guest, Kira. How are we doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So, Kira is the head of netball, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Besides assume. That is your position, is it not?
Yeah, head of netball.
Looking ahead to the game versus Cardiff Uni this week for your netball firsts. They currently sit 4th in the league.
Yeah, that's right.
How are we fancying our chances this week?
We always fancy our chances against Cardiff Uni. Everyone is. We played Cardiff Uni in a pre-season tournament. My first and second team beat their first and second team. Our second team are currently in the Division 1, so the league below our first team. So they're above any of other Cardiff Uni teams as well. I would say this year Cardiff Met are going to bring it home.
Well, that sounds good for us, given the rivalry, I suppose, between the 2 unis. Talking of the rivalries, we've got the clash on court coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're pretty confident going into with that only, a few weeks away?
Yeah, so that's next Wednesday. So for us, with our clash on the court, we're playing the University of Bath. It's our varsity rivals as well, so it's always a pretty good game. Unfortunately, we've already lost this year in the league to Bath, but it was our first game of the season. Probably had about 3 days training before we went into that. And there's massive room for improvement, and the girls are ready for it. They like an audience, they like spectators, and they'll do really well.
So yeah, that will be streamed live on Cardiff Met Sport TV. And if you didn't catch that, Kira, that was Wednesday the 9th, was it?
Wednesday 9th, 4 p.m. for the first game of the clash.
Lovely stuff. And on the other side of that Cardiff clash, we also have with us, I'm sorry I mispronounced your name earlier, Mark.
No.
It is Mark Morale. You're a second-year student here at Met.
Second year, yes.
What are you studying first?
I'm studying business management.
And how's that going?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah. It's
So far?
Interesting.
Pretty good. Okay, lovely. And as I understand it, you're a point guard for the first team.
Yes.
And for those that don't know basketball that well, what does that entail?
Being a point guard, you're basically leader on court. You bring up the ball, playmaker. You know, usually smallest person on the court. A lot of responsibility. As some would say, it's probably the hardest position to play, but obviously depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you would say, given that it's your job, that is the most difficult job on court.
Yeah, given what I have to do, I reckon it probably is.
Yeah. And the netball equivalent of the point guard, if I'm not mistaken, is the centre.
You've done well there, yeah.
Ah, lovely stuff. Nailed it. Also, Mark, so you're Spanish, and if I got my facts right, I believe you lived in Dubai for a few years.
Since I was 8.
Since you were 8?
Yeah.
Okay. So Spain until you were 8, and then Dubai?
Dubai until I was 17, until I came to uni here.
Okay. And did you play basketball out in Dubai, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I started basketball when I was in Spain when I was very little, and then just transitioned over to Dubai. Kept playing until it brought me here, basically.
Oh, nice. And so what sort of level did you play when you were in Dubai?
So when I was in Dubai, you know, obviously playing the school leagues, everything that's available there. Organization isn't great there, but any chance I got, I was there. And then obviously I went on some international trips over to Sweden, Czech Republic, Poland, Spain. Played in some European tournaments. I was pretty high level against some good European sides. So that's the level I played at when I was there.
That's pretty cool. So you got to travel a fair bit, even when you were fairly young.
Yeah.
And now coming to Met, how different is it, would you say, competing obviously in the Welsh leagues than it is to, obviously you're a little bit older now, but the difference in level maybe, or general setup of teams?
I think the general setup and organization of basketball and just the sport in general is much better here. It's a pretty big problem, I'd say, back home in Dubai, where, you know, you get some pretty good individual talent, probably more than you get in the UK. But the organization and just the stability of it all doesn't allow the players and the level to grow as it should. So I reckon just the organization here makes it much better experience than I've ever had, honestly.
All right.
Yeah.
That is that surprises me, because I'm not a basketball player myself. I don't know a lot about the sport, admittedly, but to hear that the organisation over here that's obviously good for the UK and bringing players through like yourself through Cardiff Met. And also, I'd also like to bring Kira into this as well. How would you say, 'cause formerly, are they still known as the Welsh Dragons?
They're known as the Celtic Dragons.
Welsh Dragons.
The only Welsh franchise to play in the Vitality Netball Super League.
Okay. And whereabouts are you? What's your position over there?
So I was last season the under-21s team manager, and now in the last probably 10 days, I'm the under-21s assistant coach.
So that's a very, very recent promotion.
Very recent. Yeah, it hasn't been put on social media, but official.
So are we supposed to know that, or
Yeah,
is this?
you can know that.
Yeah,
That's fine. You can
awesome.
know that.
So you've heard it here first. Kira Davis, that's huge. Well done.
Yeah,
Congrats.
not bad, not bad.
Not bad. Oh, I'd say that's better than not bad. But what would you say your experience is, purely maybe between Bucks and obviously that the Celtic Dragons? How different is the tournament and maybe league setup?
Yeah, so with the Super League, it's actually a really short season. So the senior Dragons, they would play from February to June, which is actually near enough when Premier Bucks would end. So we have one player this year that's contracted to the Dragons as a training partner. So she is essentially first reserve in her position, just in case there's injury or illness or anything. And then we have another player who's a training associate, so it's the level just underneath. And she attends all the training sessions, tries to essentially push the rest of the squad to perform the best they can. But because it doesn't clash so much with Bucks, they can play Bucks first, and then they go into Dragons as it kind of ramps up. I would say, in terms of the age groups, Bucks Premier is a higher level. And a lot of the Super League players will drop into Bucks until the Super League starts. So, for example, Bath, they have about 3 Super League players that play for the senior team in Team Bath. And then a lot of the other universities in the Premier League have the same. And we obviously have the same in Millie and Nia with competing in the Celtic Dragons.
I see. And do you guys, to the Celtic Dragons, does their academy and stuff feed into Cardiff Met as well? Is that quite a close partnership, or?
It's a relatively new partnership, so probably since COVID, it's really materialised. It kind of signed on the dotted line just before, and then it couldn't really go anywhere because of the pandemic. Since it's been back, so the Dragons have S&C with us, with Di, and then we'll train in Arches Arena and the Sports Hall, and then they kind of do brush shoulders with us. We are in really early stages of our partnership, so we're going to have players come in and do taster sessions. They get to attend, my coaching team get to attend some training sessions that obviously the coaching team for Dragons are delivering, so kind of coach development as well as player development for us is just as important. And yeah, it's nice to see a flourishing relationship right at the start, and my part in it in the juniors I think will only help to strengthen it.
That's really good to hear. As well as that, so Mike, I'll come to you in a second. So you got time to think about this, Mark. I completely forgotten what my question was going to be. I'm not going to lie. So, Kira, that relationship, obviously, it's just newly formed. Have you had that in previous seasons where maybe other clubs, maybe not quite as high level as the Celtic Dragons? Obviously, you've got the Archers Academy that feeds into Met, I'm assuming.
So basketball have the academy. We used to have a netball academy before COVID, but Cardiff Uni do a really good netball academy, so probably trying to go for the same audience there. But we are really keen to start our junior netball up again, and a lot of our girls are involved as junior coaches in community clubs. So there are natural links with Cardiff Met. Might not be based on our campus, but actually the Cardiff Met workforce allow those community clubs to flourish. And I take that as partnership with Cardiff Met, even if it's not on King Croyd.
That's awesome. Yeah, okay. So if we just sort of move on from this now, I was going to ask my question, but I don't think we've got quite enough time. If we're going to go on to a quick this or that. So basically, I'm going to ask you, both of you, at the same time. So I'll pose the question once, and both of you just give me your answer. So we can go this or that, very quick fire, just straight off the bat, okay? So, Crocs or sliders?
Slides.
Crocs.
Okay, interesting. And yes or no to socks and sandals?
Yes.
No.
Very contradictory answers so far. Red sauce or brown sauce? So like tomato sauce or brown sauce?
Never tried brown or tomato.
Tomato, yeah.
Okay, safe. Do you prefer to wear stash or no stash? So like team kit. So would you rather have it or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly simple one. Buzz Lightyear or Woody?
Woody.
Buzz Lightyear.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Coffee.
And score or assist?
Assist.
Score.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Home or away?
Home.
Home.
And this is a difficult one. Mark, I don't know if you've been there yet, but Heidi's or Live Lounge?
Live lounge.
Live lounge.
It's a classic. It's a Cardiff classic. And final question for this or that. Are you going to win on Wednesday the 9th?
Yes.
100%.
No doubt. Like it. Confidence. That's great. So, Kira, I'll come back to you for a second. As I saw, so me being a tennis player, I'm part of Cardiff Met Tennis. Lots of clubs as well were also active in charities this week. Obviously, wearing pink, bake sales, and rainbow laces. What sort of inspired the netball team to go to that? Obviously, it's a wonderful cause, but was there anything other than that?
Yeah, predominantly with breast cancer awareness, it does affect more women than men. So as a female-dominated club, we only have, one male in the club that helps us on our coaching team. We wanted to really represent what being a female club here should be all about, and to use our profile on social media, to use our profile on campus to really put forward important messages and showing that it's not just turning up on a Wednesday wearing the maroon dress, it's more important than that. And yeah, they all donated money and then made sure we shared on social media. And it was really nice because usually we have quite strict training colours, so they're not allowed to wear pink. So they were allowed to wear pink for one day.
Okay, that's nice. And the rainbow laces as well?
Yeah, so the Rainbow Laces for us, our first team coach is actually part of that community. So it was massive for us to be able to support that. And yeah, she's an alumni, current coach, first team coach, and it was nice to be a part of that. And the girls were really passionate about doing it too.
Awesome. And I'm going to quickly hit That's Awesome About Netball and Basketball. We'll catch up late in a second. And we're going to head straight over to Ethan for our second. Yeah, we head over to the second bulletin of the radio podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Will Godwin. Thank you for having me, firstly. Exciting news coming out with this morning. England have won the T20 World Cup. Josh Butler, that is, with a monumental performance, helping England get up to 179 for 6. Absolutely outstanding performance by Josh Butler there. Sam Curran, in his 4 overs, taking 2 for 26. What a day he's had. He will be very excited with his performance. England managed to keep captain Kane Williamson to just 40 runs. You know, Kane Williams, real stalemate in that New Zealand side, really builds the score up, so England did a very good job to get him out of there. And as a result of that, England do win by 20 runs. However, Will, it's not all over. England do need to win their next game against Sri Lanka on Saturday in order to qualify for the semi-finals. Another news coming out today, hockey. Big news coming out of hockey. Hockey Wales and England have combined to make a bid for the 2026 Men's World Cup. They will be looking at hosting the tournament at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as well as Twickenham Stoop, Sims Stadium of Franklin Gardens, and Cardiff Arms Park. Will.
Thank you very much, Ethan. So the Hockey World Cup bid, I'd like to bring Ed Wright in to talk to us about that. Ed.
Hello, yes. So obviously that's a bit of a breaking news story there about the England and Wales bid for the Hockey World Cup. As we know, the World Cup is going to be in India in January. It's going to be the first World Cup. Hockey Wales are qualified for their first World Cup in India. It's pretty exciting times in the hockey world, I must say.
Now, Cardiff has hosted several successful sporting events in and around the city, all of which have boosted Cardiff's economy through tourism. For example, the Ryder Cup, held at Celtic Manor, brought an estimated £82 million. The Champions League generated £45 million for the city, and the Cricket World Cup had an economic impact of £17.9 million. That is a lot of money generated by sports events. This could be huge for the hockey world, and especially hockey inside England and Wales. Do you see the current T20 World Cup doing a similar thing?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that's over in Australia right now. You know, the Australia, in fact, every sort of economy around the globe suffered from the COVID pandemic. It's definitely going to boost things. Obviously, those statistics there, they really show the economic impact of hosting sporting events in cities and countries around the UK. That's why, you know, England and Wales probably have got together and tried to create this joint bid. You know, I see it as a massive positive step forward for England and Wales hockey. It's only going to bring good to not only England and Wales hockey as a board, as a sport, but to Cardiff as a city in general. You know, 17.9 million from the Cricket World Cup. It's not exactly a major sport in Wales. You know, Glamorgan being the only county to play cricket in Wales, bringing 18 million nearly to the city is a massive boost financially for the city. So, you know, if the World Cup is hosted in England and Wales, you know, if that can bring in even half the amount of money towards to Cardiff and even to the UK economy, that's a massive boost for England, for England and Wales.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, it's like any sport that gets that major coverage. So, like we had the Olympics, and when we won gold with the women's hockey team, I think it was Rio that we won gold with that women's team. So many more people got into hockey. We saw a rise in young players, especially from grassroots level, and it just shows you that it's those big wins and those gold medals. They really do impact the way people see sport. So I think having this Hockey World Cup held in England and Wales and at these huge stadiums, the brand new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is awesome, and you can see most sports, any sport really being held there, with the NFL being there more recently in the London Games. this really could do so much for the sport, like we've previously said.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even, in Cardiff alone, Cardiff Arms Park, one of the most historic rugby grounds in the country, to turn that into a hockey stadium for a tournament for a couple of weeks in Cardiff would be absolutely fantastic. Get kids down there, new people into hockey as a sport. It's not exactly the most played sport in the country. So to boost the numbers, grow the game, I think that'd be really fantastic for the game in general.
No, it would be incredible. And also filling out those stadiums with hockey fans is also something maybe we haven't quite seen in that capacity before. I certainly haven't. I don't know about you.
No, well, no, definitely not. I mean, we look at the Commonwealth Games held up in Birmingham. It was fantastic. I think that was probably the first time we've really seen packed out stadiums at hockey. Their university pitch with their iconic university in the background. Cheap tickets, I think, is definitely something that can help that along the way. There could be a conversation about ticket pricing in general around sporting venues, but that's a topic for another day. And yeah, like you said, it could really, really boost the whole sport in general. It's a growing sport, even just from, like you said, winning gold from the women's in the Olympics. So,
Like you said, growing sport. So talking about a sport that has grown, we're going to pass over to the rugby and a preview for this week's game.
Hi, so I'm here with James Roberts, our rugby correspondent and commentator so far this season. So, James, you've been looking very closely at our boys all through the year. So, looking broader over the season as a whole, Hartbury and the Archers are very close in the table. Do you see this as a closely contested match, or do you favour our boys?
Going off just this season alone, I would say it's going to be a very close encounter, and obviously the positions of the tables currently for this year. Going off of last season, though, Cardiff Met were able to beat Hartbury on both occasions, home and away. The pressure never really got to them. Obviously, Hartbury are renowned not just down this way, but also around the country and across the globe for being a big sports university and sports campus, and many big names coming out of that Buck Super Rugby side into international rugby and indeed into professional careers. So I do favour them, but I think that's just because my heart's in it for Cardiff Met rather than anything else.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. I'll let you go back to your table.
So, Ed, as well as that Buck Super Rugby game we got on this week over in Gloucester, what other sports have we got going on around campus?
yeah, well, obviously, like you said, like we just had Daft talking about there, there is the rugby tomorrow, which is actually a first for Cardiff Met Rugby Club in Hull. It's the men and the women playing their first ever back-to-back game under the lights against Hartbury at Kingsholm, which is Gloucester Rugby Stadium. It's a massive occasion for both teams. The women play first at 4:30, as one side will lose their unbeaten status between Cardiff Met and Hartbury. So obviously a huge occasion for them. They will be followed by the men in a crunch match, to be fair. The sides are separated by 1 bonus points, as both teams have won 3 out of their 5 opening games. So we could see 2 iconic clashes tomorrow.
That's incredibly tight there.
Yeah. Tomorrow on King Coy campus, the women's basketball ones, they take on Southampton Solent in the Archers Arena. The women's ones have won the last 3 games, and Met will be hoping star players Lauren Psyche and Shannon Hatch will perform as they look to continue their winning run versus a quite strong Solent side who sit 1 place below Met in 3rd. The netball ones, as previously mentioned by Kira, they take on local rivals Cardiff Uni in the Archers Arena alongside the basketball women's game, similar times. Both sides sit on 1 win this season, so will be eager to climb further up the table. The seconds in netball host Exeter Uni thirds, whilst the fourths and the fifths face off against each other. So a big day for netball tomorrow. In football, the men's travel to Bristol to take on their Bristol second team. Met sit 1 point above their opponent and level on points with Bristol's first team, who sit top of the league on goal difference. The Met women's team travel to 5th place Essex in search of their 4th win of the season. Their only real blemish is a home defeat to Bristol, a defeat that I'm sure will have scars among many of the players. A game that will be live streamed on Cardiff Met Sport TV. That last minute goal really denting their title hopes this season so far. Finally, we have water polo. Now, water polo is a really great story, actually. So I don't know if many people around campus have noticed, but water polo have managed to go unbeaten so far this season. I think they're 4 games into the season so far. They got a lot of freshers in. and an almost nearly entirely new team. They take on Gloucester Uni tomorrow at home down at the swimming pool. Gloucester Uni sitting second place, so it could be a really good game. And Met, I'm sure, will be looking to sort of continue on their unbeaten run. So yeah, a lot going on around campus tomorrow. Could be a quite exciting day, I think, Will.
That sounds like an incredibly lot of games
Yeah.
going on a Wednesday. As we love to hear a busy Bucks Wednesday here at Cardiff Met. I'd also like to give the tennis club a bit of a plug. We've got our men's ones playing Cardiff, our men's twos playing Cardiff as well. So a lot of clashes going around campus this week. It must be a new kind of Cardiff clash. But now we're going to hop on to something a more serious note, and we're going to hear a Movember Vox Pop.
Hi, so I'm David Jones. I'm here at Archers Arena with Jack. So quickly, I take it by your facial hair that you're not taking part in Movember this year.
No, sure.
Do you know what Movember is actually supporting this year?
No, not really, mate. No.
No idea?
No.
I'm not trying to catch you out just because everybody seems to not know what it is. So it's actually about mental health for men.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that nobody seems to know what it's
no.
about, but everyone seems to take part in it?
Yeah, a little bit, because obviously men's mental health is,
It's mad.
it's crazy.
Hi, so I'm here on campus with Beth, and I'm just trying to hide from the rain for a second. So we're talking about Movember today, and I'm just wondering if you know what cause Movember actually supports.
I don't know what it's about. Just it's something to do with men's issues or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what she even does to help it, but yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it is to do with men's mental health, but thank you for your time.
So it's interesting. I've been here around campus all day talking to various people. We've got a fair few students here at King Croyd taking part in Movember. But the general consensus is that people don't really understand what cause exactly Movember supports. Back to you.
Okay, so you heard a serious note just there. So Movember is a charity organisation. It's based on the statistic that around 10.8 million people globally are facing life with a prostate cancer diagnosis. Also, testicular cancer is the most common cancer among young men, and across the world, 1 man dies by suicide every minute of the day, with males accounting for 69% of all suicides. However, there is some good news. Since 2003, Movember has funded more than 1,250 men's health projects around the world. They've said this year, mental health and suicide prevention, prostate cancer and testicular cancer, we're taking them all on. It's really quite an incredible movement. I know all of our team here at Broadcast are going to attempt it. We're certainly making an effort. I know several of the Met teams, or the male Met teams, sorry, are going to attempt it. Ed, I've heard cricket are making a move on this as well.
Yeah, that is correct. We did November last year as well. We managed to raise £1,000 for the charity. We did a bike ride alongside it, which is sort of all for a fantastic cause, like you mentioned. We're going to be doing it again this year, raising money for the same cause, November. I think we're going to be playing a charity netball tournament as well to sort of try and boost the awareness. Like you said, it's strange because a lot of people do know what Movember is and in terms of like the name, why their people are growing moustache, but they don't really know the cause, what Movember are trying to sort of raise awareness for. So I think it's really important that we do raise awareness for this. Mental health is really important, especially in men. Like you said, if 70% of all suicides are men, then there's a problem. So, I think it's a really good thing what we're doing, and I'm sure we'll see some very shoddy moustaches along the way. So I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, I cannot say that I won't be one of those. But however, Met constantly making the effort all across the sports teams, both the women and the men, with breast cancer. Supporting that with the pink shirts, and obviously you've got your rainbow laces for LGBTQ+. And also you've got this Movember that we're doing now, all supporting those causes that I've just mentioned, but I'll go through them one more time. Your prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and also supporting male suicides. So to round up then, Cardiff Met making huge moves to support charity causes. We've got football on the weekend, which went really well, and looking forward to the Cup for the men. And the women have got 3 big games. Just quickly, we've also got netball and basketball Cardiff Clash. That's 9th of November on Wednesday. And look forward to seeing you all at Archers games this week. Goodbye.